for the evening, Dr. Nandalal Mishra, ex-scientific officer and head of X-ray spectroscopy section in Fuel Chemistry Division of BARC, Mumbai. Dr. Vijayalakshmi Adya, former senior scientist at BARC. Dr. P.P. Chandrachudan, sir, National President ISAS. Dr. Raghav Saran, Vice President ISAS and Advisor Nagpur Chapter. Dr. Nair, who is Chairman of National Webinar Committee ISAS, and Dr. Kanungo, Vice President Nagpur Chapter, and Dr. A.V. Bharti, Chairman Nagpur Chapter. I welcome you all. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to all our members of ISS and all our participants. To begin the proceedings, I would like to request Dr. A.V. Bharti to give his welcome address.
Good evening all. I am Dr. Bharti. Dr. Chandrachudan sir, Saran sir, Nair sir, Vijayalakshmi madam, and all other dignitaries who are present here. I take this privilege to welcome you all in this webinar that is on the X-rays in analytical chemistry. First of all, I welcome our National President, Dr. Chandrachudan sir. Then I extend my welcome to Dr. Nair sir, Raghav Saran sir, today's speaker, Dr. Nandalal Mishra, Preeti, Yamuna Singh sir, Konungo sir, and all other dignitaries who are present here. The today's webinar topic is related to not only for the chemistry, but it is related to all other branches also, and specifically this is related to the science branches. Now the X-ray technology is important not only in the science, in that technical sciences, but in the biological sciences also. And by keeping in mind, we requested Dr. Mishra sir for this webinar. Now, I am not taking much time, and I welcome all you, sir, which are on the desk. At the same time, I welcome all which are the participants also here. Thank you, and over to Preeti.
Thank you, sir. Now I would request Dr. V.R. Nair, Chairman of Webinar Committee, to say a few words.
Dear Dr. President ISS, Dr. Saran, ISS, Dr. Nandalal Mishra, Dr. Avinash Bharti, Chairman ISS, others office bearers of office bearers of the distinguished professors, faculty members, students, members of ISS, other distinguished guests, a very good evening to all of you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Happy to assist with this webinar, joined by ISS chapter and ISS corporate. A great pleasure to greet all of you in this webinar. Leading Society of Analytical Sciences in any military and friendlies from National Institution, Baba Atomic Research Center. With the webinar, high quality knowledge of analytical science in the country. The Nagpur chapter of ISS was started in 2002. It was a very organization between 2002 to 2008. During 2005 to 2008, the National President and Secretary were for ISS and the PK Jason and the President and Dr. Saran was Secretary at the time. The first Indian Analytical College was organized by these dignitaries at Nagpur in 2007. All of us were looking for guidance and leadership to Dr. Raghav sir. Gradually, the performance was deteriorated due to the and remained non-functional for after the present DC preparer, it is under the leadership of a Vice Chandrachudan, non-functional. Dr. Chandrachudan requested Dr. Saran, ISAS, to action the rewrite chapter of ISAS. Accordingly, accordingly, on 30th September 2011, ISA Nagpur chapter was revived under the guidance of Dr. Bhagavad Saran. Nagpur chapter regained its past glory under the leadership of Dr. Abhinav Bhaji, chairman of ISA Nagpur chapter. During the short span of time, they have already ordered of raising training becoming the founder of ISO in India. Taking from all endeavors. The topic of the analytical chemistry and the speaker is Dr. Nandalal. He is a former scientific officer and a former in Mumbai. Known scientist, especially in X-ray fluorescence. I was happy to attend his talk 4 years back when he was working in DRC. He is an authority in X-ray-based analytical techniques and has numerous publications in the field of total reflection. We are thankful to him for his analytical chemistry in this webinar, and I am eagerly looking forward to listening to his talk.
Before I go any further, I just would like to request, please, other than the speakers, I request everybody to mute themselves so that there is less disturbance. Thank you. I would now request our Honorable National President of ISS, Dr. Chandrachudan sir, to address us.
Good evening to all. Dear Dr. V.R. Nair, Dr. Raghav Saran, Dr. Avinash Bharati, Dr. K.K. Rashid, Professor N.L. Misra, today's eminent speaker, members of the EC of ISIS as well as Nagpur chapters, and very esteemed participants of this webinar. Analytical techniques based on excitation and emission and absorption in the X-ray region of electromagnetic spectrum offers ample possibilities in spectroscopy of elemental analysis, imaging of material structures, analysis of material surfaces, residual stress analysis, and analysis of larger phenomena associated with remote space as well. It's a very fascinating realm with innumerable scope. Professor Nandalal Misra, former senior scientist of BIRC, is an expert in X-ray spectroscopy. He has also made his own unique contributions in the field. Thanks to Professor Nandalal Misra for joining us in this evening. And I actually look forward to his talk with great interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would request Dr. Raghav Saran, Honorable Vice President ISAS and Advisor Nagpur Chapter, to say a few words.
Good evening to all of us. Honorable President Dr. Chandrachudan, Dr. Nair, Dr. Bharti, Dr. Rashid, and all other my dear friends and my dear participants. As we all know that ISS, Indian Society of Electrical Scientists, was found in 1983, and it is a premier interdisciplinary scientific body of the nation. Just to cater the regional needs, the ISAS started opening different chapters. One of them was Nagpur chapter. Nagpur chapter started in year 2000, and up to 2007, it had a very checkered history. But unfortunately, due to some unseen events and unavoidable events, from 2007 to 2019, it was almost defunct. And in 2019, we could revive the chapter. And since then, the chapter is actively involved in meeting the objective of the society, that is disseminating science by internet symposium, international, national workshop, training, and all that. But during the present scenario, when quarantine or social distancing has been almost mandatory. Webinars are only viable option. And through this, from the nation as well as from regional chapters, we are organizing several functions, several webinars just to enrich our knowledge. Now, usually during symposia and all, we used to provide platform for the participants also to express their knowledges and all that. And whatever novel researches they were doing, that was also coming to forum. But now we are having one part, that is the invited talks, and we are enriching our knowledge this way. But I think we will like to add further, and we would have something sort of symposium only, but it will be web symposium. So we can provide chances to all the research scholars also to come with their findings. Today's speaker, Dr. Nandlal Mishra, he is a very eminent and widely experienced professional expertise par excellence, and we are very happy that he is among us to enrich our knowledge. So with this, I expect that we all will be benefited highly by this talk on the X-ray techniques, analytical techniques, and using X-ray analysis. XRD, XRF, and all these techniques are there, diffraction and even fluorescence. Besides that, TXRF and all those things are there. And Dr. Mishra is a expertise on all that. He has 36 years of experience in the field. So I hope that we all will be benefited highly by his talk. Thank you. Preeti, over to Preeti.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, who is a former senior scientist at BARC in Department of Atomic Energy and is currently an executive committee member of ISAS. She has been a colleague of our eminent speaker for over 3 decades. So it would be befitting to request her to introduce our guest for the evening. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, madam. Good evening, all EC members as well as dignitaries and participants. Myself, Vijay Lakshmi Adya, would like to give some biodata and introduction to our today's speaker, Dr. Nandlal Mishra ji. So it is this way. It is a matter of great moment to me to introduce my ex-colleague, Dr. Nandlal Mishra, who has been our colleague in Radiological Laboratories, BRC, during our entire tenure in Radiological Laboratories, BRC. During our entire tenure in BRC, Dr. Mishra had joined X-ray section of Fuel Chemistry Division, BRC, in 1983 after obtaining his MSc from Gorakhpur University. Since beginning, he had devoted himself for the characterization of nuclear materials using advanced X-ray spectrometric techniques, namely energy dispersive X-ray fluorescence and total reflection X-ray fluorescence techniques. In addition, he has worked in the area of solid-state chemistry using XRD, XRF, and thermal methods such as TGA and DTA. With this study, Dr. Mishra obtained his PhD in 1998 for his thesis X-ray and thermal studies on alkali metals, namely molybdenum actinide oxygen system. He continued his advanced research at Paul Scherrer Institute, Switzerland during May 2002, April 2001 as a postdoctoral research fellow. After returning from abroad, Dr. Mishra realized the favorable features of TXRF for the determinations of trace elements in nuclear materials and established the first TXRF laboratory for this type of studies in India at Fuel Chemistry Division, BRC, Mumbai. These studies were helpful in indigenous development of thorium oxide standards for the burn list test to assess the quality of silicon carbide coating of compact high temperature reactor, that is CSTR fuel, waste determination of chlorine in nuclear materials, and non-destructive compositional characterization of zircon 4 and other alloys. Since only nanogram levels of analytes are required for elemental determination by TXRF, Dr. Mishra beneficially exploited this advantage of TXRF and developed a very novel method for the elemental characterization of mixed oxide, that is uranium-plutonium oxide, sintered fuel pellets. The method incorporates just rubbing the sintered pellets on TXRF supports and analyzing them in almost non-destructive manner by TXRF. The first vacuum-based TXRF facility of the country set up by Dr. Mishra in FCD is being used for the determination of low atomic number elements, namely fluorine, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, etc. At Rajaramana Center for Advanced Technology, that is RRCAT Indore, he developed non-destructive NEXRF methodology for the uniformity study of sinter fuel pellets. Is not only elemental composition but also the oxidation state of the elements being very important. Dr. Mishra used similar approach using TXRF and X-ray absorption near edge spectroscopy methodology for oxidation state determination in mixed valent uranium oxide. Dr. Mishra could also realize the beneficial features of TXRF for the characterization of radiotoxic plutonium-based materials and hence could develop a TXRF methodology for elemental characterization of such materials without using glow box containment. This methodology made life simpler without the use of glow box but with the due care for the characterization of nuclear materials which invariably need glow box but due to minute sample size. Most of these studies were carried out for the first time. The R&D activities carried out by Dr. Mishra resulted in betterment PDXRF detection limits to picogram levels, and this methodology has been used for the determination of trace elements in uranium oxide with a few microliter of the sample. Dr. Mishra had also contributed extensively in the area of solid state chemistry involving characterization of various materials using analytical techniques such as XRD, XRF, X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy, that is XPS, extended X-ray absorption fine structure, that is XF, and X-ray absorption near edge spectroscopy XENS, and thermal methods, namely TGA and DTA, etc. For his extensive contribution to the departmental activities in the area of design, development, installation, and commissioning of the X-ray imaging and energy scanning accepts lines of Indus to synchrotron source, Dr. N.L. Mishra was honored with BAE Group Achievement Award in the year 2014. In addition to departmental commitments in the field of nuclear materials, Dr. Mishra extended Dr. Mishra extended his horizons for research first in various
उसमें यात्रियों को लेकर घर आते हैं करके हमने एक ऐसी केस स्टडी देखी ताकि यहाँ यात्री को शिकायत कर रहे थे क्या वो चलान में आते हैं
research in various sectors by way of collaboration with different institutes, universities at international level, Finland, Sweden, Italy, Austria, Japan.
के पास और ये इनके लिए बहुत सामान्य बात हो गई है आप बताइए कि 3 चालान अभी हमने अपने जाने पर दिखाए
Japan and also at national level in the area of forensic science and water chemistry and biological materials. He exploited the use of TXRF for the development of rainwater standards, trace element determination water samples including fluorine and uranium. These studies were also helpful in differentiating the trace elements in normal and malignant tissues in the capacity of Professor HBNI Mumbai as a PhD guide and co-guide. He nurtured many researchers in his areas of expertise at national and international levels, being the chief scientific investigator for different international scientific collaborative programs. He is also a member of the editorial board of the journal X-ray Spectrometry published by John Millay and Sons UK. Dr. Mishra has about 200 research publications in international journals with high impact factors such as Analytic Chemistry, Journal of Magnetic Materials, Journal of Analytic Atomic Spectrometry, Spectrochemica, ACTA, Part B, etc., and also international conferences and national conferences. On December 31st, 2018, Dr. Mishra superannuated from BARC as head X-ray spectroscopy section and as scientific officer H. He has left behind him as a scientific legacy, a team involving strong young scientists, which is remarkable as I myself have witnessed personally. Lastly, to say, Dr. Mishra is still enthusiastic to share his knowledge acquired during his tenure in BRC for more than 3.5 decades with universities, academic institutes, and industries in the area of water research, chemical quality control, and also in the development of new materials. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Without further delay, now I would request Dr. Nandalal Mishra to deliver his talk.
Good evening, everybody. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
We can hear,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. And first of all, I am very much thankful to ISAS for giving me this opportunity to speak in this year, which is being observed as 125th year of discovery of X-rays. X-rays were discovered on 8 November 1895, and now we have completed 125 years. Since then, X-rays have played major role in almost every area of human benevolent. And if you see that small thing, if you go for X-ray, and now we are living in the age of COVID-19, the X-rays are playing major role there also. In addition to this, they have played major role in material characterization studies, which Dr. Chandrachudan has already referred. And before I start my talk, what is the role of X-rays in analytical chemistry? Just I will define what is analytical, give brief discussion about analytical chemistry. Analytical chemistry involves study and uses instruments and methods to separate, identify, and quantify the matter. Improvement, experimental design, and creation of new measurement tools. And it is divided in qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. In qualitative analysis, you just know what is the component of your sample. You may be interested in knowing what are the elements, what are the phases, or what are the different mixed compounds. In quantitative analysis, you are interested to know how much these are present. And these analysis give a glimpse, or I should say, an indication about the property of material which you are investigating. Again, these methods are divided in classical methods and instrumental methods. Classical methods are old methods, whereas instrumental methods are new advanced methods which give various information. And in instrumental methods, X-ray has played a major role. And question arises why we should do this. That this type of study helps in every walk of life. It may be energy efficiency. You can get information about renewable energy materials, food, water, eatables. It can avoid chemical destruction, catalyst. There are list is so long. So you will find in every walk of life, X-ray, this analytical chemistry is playing role. And X-rays are playing role in analytical chemistry. To begin with, what is so important about X-rays, how they are able to help the analytical chemistry, that if you see what are the X-rays, they are electromagnetic radiation. But how light is also electromagnetic radiation, how they are different from light, then you will find out in this projection slide I have tried to show. The wavelength of X-ray is in the range of atoms and molecules. And this makes the X-rays to interact with atoms and molecules in a favorable manner. Another property what they are having, they are of high energy. They can penetrate inside the matter. So these two features make the X-rays worth for studying and for performing in different type of area of human benevolence. Now, before we go for various X-ray techniques, we should know in every technique you will require source of X-ray. How X-rays are produced, that we should know. In brief, I will be giving how the X-rays are produced. They are produced in highly evacuated glass tubes, which are called as X-ray tubes. This glass tube contains anode and cathode, and a high voltage is when it is applied between anode and cathode. Anode is normally high melting point metal. For example, copper, molybdenum, platinum, silver, tungsten. Why it is high melting? Because most of the energy, as I will say, show you later, is used not in producing X-rays but producing heat so that it doesn't melt. And when this voltage is applied, electrons get accelerated from cathode to anode, and when they hit the anode target, then they lose their energy. And this loss of energy is produced as X-rays, which is known as characteristic X-rays. This loss of energy of electrons takes in steps. This and it is in continuous in nature. This is why it is called Bremsstrahlung or continuous radiation. There is another way of production of X-ray. If high energy incoming electrons, they are so having so high energy that they can knock out the inner cell electrons. What will happen? The atom will come in excited state, and it will leave the excited state, come to normal state by an electronic transition from outer cell to inner cell. And this, when this transition takes place, the inner cell electrons, this transition electrons energy is emitted in form of X-rays, which is equal to the energy difference in the from the orbitals which are undergoing transition. And since this energy difference is specific to that atom, this energy is also X-ray energy is also specific to that atom, and this is known as characteristic X-rays. Just I will show you. See, here it is filament. In X-ray tube, I am showing it. A wire, filament wire is there, which is heated with supplying some current, and a high voltage is applied between cathode and anode. These electrons are coming, they are hitting the target, and the X-rays are produced. Then they go through the window. Now, just you see that if you apply less voltage, here you can see this is continuum X-ray spectra from the tube. You can see that it is having a minimum wavelength limit. This minimum wavelength limit corresponds to voltage applied in the tube. This shows that all of the energy of electrons after hitting the target becomes zero, and it is converted to X-rays. So it is the starting point, and then in between there are some intense X-rays. If you see, just if you go on increasing the voltage, wavelength will come down, means energy goes down, and one stage is coming where characteristic X-ray you see in form of a line, they are coming, and this nomenclature is K alpha and K beta is based on the transition of X-rays involved. For example, just I will show that you see this is K cell. Now what has happened, that K cell one electron has lost, and in this K cell, if an electron is coming from L cell, then it will be known as K alpha X-ray. Emitted X-ray will be known as K alpha. Alpha is denoting that transition is taking from one orbital above, and if it is coming from M cell, it will be known as K beta. So this is the nomenclature K alpha, K beta, and this K alpha and K beta will be characteristic of that particular atom. There are other ways of production of X-rays, that isotopic X-ray sources are there. For example, just internal gamma conversion, just you say it is zinc atom. What happens, that gamma rays can knock out one electron. It is emitting gamma rays, and one, if electron is knocked out, then what will happen, this vacancy will be created, and similar type of transition is taking place, and it will emit zinc K alpha X-rays. But in another transition, their internal beta conversion is also there. So here what will happen, that for here you can see that iodine atom is there. It is having 53 protons, 76 neutron, and what will happen, that this beta, that one electron goes to one neutron, gets converted to proton and electron, and that electron knocks out one electron. And then the energy produced, what happens, that its atomic number increases by 1, because neutron has converted to proton and electron. So now here you will get X-ray from Zenon K alpha. And similar, if orbital electron capture, it can capture electron from outer cell, and then also X-ray can be emitted, then you get that manganese K alpha X-ray. Then these isotopic sources are very small sources. They are used for field work, means portable X-ray instruments you can make. Another big advancement in X-ray techniques takes synchrotron light sources. Synchrotron light sources are big instrumental facilities big facilities in every country, not every country, some countries only have these facilities. Here electrons are rotated in orbitals, in through the magnet they are deaccelerated. In circular disk they are rotated, and this perimeter of these facilities is around half kilometer, you can say. And when they rotate in circular path, they lose their energy, and that loss of energy results in form of very high intense X-rays, and these X-ray sources can be chosen for a particular energy, and different type of experiments can be done. Now these are the brief description about the production of X-ray and different type of X-ray sources. Now in every X-ray technique, it depends how the incoming X-ray on the sample have interacted with the matter. Now just I have tried to show X-ray photon falls on the sample. What various things can take place? It may get absorbed, it may get scattered, or it may emit a photoelectron. All these things give different type of X-ray techniques. For example, a scattered X-ray may interfere constructively or destructively, and you can get diffraction of X-ray, which is used in finding out the crystal structure. Then inelastic scattering can take place. These type of scattering are used to study amorphous. This is new area of science, I will say. And then reflected X-rays are there. They are used in total reflection X-ray fluorescence spectrometry. And if you measure the transmitted X-ray, you can find out the change in intensity of X-rays. This is used in normal imaging of the, you go for X-ray. This is just what they do. They measure how intensity is changing with the help of a film. And another thing, that these absorption may be used for the finding out the crystal structure and bond length, local environment also I will tell in the technique of X-ops and GENS. Then agar electrons can be emitted. I will tell what are the agar electron, OJ electron we pronounce. Then these OJ electrons are beneficial for low atomic number studies. And then fluorescent X-rays may get emitted, which constitute fluorescence X-rays. And here just I have tried to say absorption gives imaging, X-ops, GENS, scattering is already I have told, so I need not discuss this. Now, X-rays are having applications in various areas. Medical field, you see, everybody knows imaging, but in addition of imaging, I cannot discuss in detail because of lack of time. Now, non-invasive analysis techniques for trace elements has come. If you analyze the saliva samples, blood, plasma, urine samples, you can tell the state of health of a person. And these are the invasive change. Blood, I will not say it is invasive, non-invasive, I should say. But urine, saliva, these are non-invasive techniques. Cancerous and normal cell samples. The TXRF technique is a very advancement in X-ray fluorescence. It requires very small amount of sample. So this can differentiate in cancerous and normal cell samples. And this study is being used for finding out the cause of cancer. Direct analysis of knee. Some worker in industry, they get poisoned with lead. They get poisoned with different elements. And these poisoning is short term and long term. Short term poisoning goes out of the urine, but long term poisoning gets accumulated in bones. So these bones can be directly measured for the trace element present in that by X-ray fluorescence. Similarly, kidney stone can be studied. Blood and heart tissue samples as biomarkers, they can be studied for the assessing the radiation dose. In safety and security, X-ray, 3D computer tomography, you know, explosive detection, higher energy mega electron volt X-rays are required there. Similarly, there are forensic applications where X-ray techniques are being used. Material characterization and development, including nuclear materials, so many techniques are used. In agriculture, trace elements in wheat, rice, and other agricultural products can be found out. Similarly, in environment, water quality, air quality, ice core sample, tree rings can be analyzed by XRF, TXRF. Archaeology and archaeological reconstruction, micro XRF, XRF and TXRF plays a major role. Suppose a painting is there which is very old, you know what is the composition, you don't know what is the composition of that painting. You can find out by X-ray fluorescence in non-destructive manner, and then you can reconstruct it accordingly. Similarly, in automobile industry, petrol, diesel quality, then TXRF is used, and this XRD is used for the car seats, what we get to find out, as Dr. Chansodan has referred in his talk, that stress and strain analysis is used. Then semiconductor industry, impurities are at surface or they are in bulk, various techniques are used. Now, various X-ray advancements have taken place. That what are those advancements? We want a very strong source for sample excitation so that we can find out minute amount of the enlight also. So you can see that just I have tried to show how this advancement have taken place. Earlier, around 1.5 meter big X-ray tubes were there. Then they came to around 1 feet. Now it is only 6 centimeter long that the X-ray tubes, portable X-ray tubes are coming. And they are cooled by air. Earlier, these tubes, as I told, that most of the energy of electrons is used for heat production. They used to be cooled by a chiller. Here, no chilling is required. It is cooled by air. Similarly, in detectors also, so much advancement has taken. In some side, detectors are coming. From big instruments, we went to tabletop, and then again we went to handheld X-ray instruments. Just I have tried to show here that here you can see this is the target, normal target, and if you are hitting by electron, it may melt, and you can rotate also. Then if you are rotating at different time, different surface is getting exposed, so melting chances are reduced. Similarly, solid target close to melt. Another thing is that metal jet anodes. Here, what is liquid metal jet is sprayed, and then electrons hit on this target. So every time new surface is coming. So all these things increase the intensity of X-ray. You can see X-ray tubes, and then first generation sources, second generation, second sources. Just the speed of the electron, it depends, and it's a fast diversion. Bending mandate, Bigler's and Udallers, all the three are there. And now fourth generation free electron lasers are coming. So these are the advancements. And here also, just I have tried to show that how that intensity of the exciting X-ray sources is changing. Now I am coming to the techniques being used. Some glimpse only I will be able to give in such short time. X-ray diffraction is a very common technique which is being used in most of the laboratory and research institutes. Then X-ray fluorescence, this is also similar to that, but in X-ray fluorescence, some advancements have taken place. So EDXRF and WDXRF, energy dispersive X-ray fluorescence, and the Bevelan dispersive X-ray fluorescence is present in most of the laboratory, but TXRF and micro XRF is still very few instruments are there. Then X-ray absorption technique, XOFs and GAINs. These can be done in only synchrotron light sources. X-ray photoelectron and agar electron spectroscopy, these can be done in both this lab-based sources and synchrotron-based sources. And all about technique, what I have told, they can be utilized in synchrotron-based sources for better results. Then there are hybrid techniques. That TXRF can be combined with GAINs, TXRF XOF, GIXRF, there are so many. Now, one by one, I will discuss about the various techniques. History of X-ray diffraction. You see, X-rays were discovered in the 1895 by the famous scientist W.C. Roentgen. But Roentgen, in his paper, he wrote that the X-rays are electromagnetic. He wrote that X-rays cannot be reflected they cannot be refracted. They travel in a straight line. And this confusion gave a complacency in scientists that it cannot be diffracted. But later, Lave was the first scientist who proved that X-rays can be diffracted. He studied the diffraction of X-rays using a copper sulfate crystal. And then W.H. Bragg and W.L. Bragg, these two father and sons, they were given Nobel Prize for their discovery of powder X-ray diffraction. And actually, this Bragg law, it governs that how this constructive interference will take place. You see, this is, I am not going in crystal structure or another thing. Every crystal is made of different layers of atoms. And since X-rays are having wavelength in region of the atomic size, they can be diffracted by the crystal. And for constructive interference or diffraction, the lambda equal to 2d sin theta should be satisfied. A lambda is wavelength of X-ray falling on your crystal, and d is the spacing, space spacing. The different planes are there. Interplanar spacing, it is d. And theta already I told that it is the angle on which X-ray are falling on your sample. Now, in X-ray diffraction, I proved a very useful technique to find out various parameters and crystal structure, and there are so many. I will tell you later. There are three main type of X-ray diffraction techniques now: powder X-ray diffraction, single crystal XRD, Lave photograph, and now in coming days, energy dispersive XRD has come. In powder, in all these three techniques, a monochromatic beam is required, as I told that lambda equal to 2d sin theta. But here what happens that you have to rotate the sample one by one. I will tell if I show the photograph. Single crystal XRD, if you see, you are taking a single crystal, rotating it, and it is getting diffracted by coming X-ray. And what happens that a film, if you are putting, then this film pattern will give a 2D image from 3D to 2D image of the crystal. And by analyzing this picture, one can know what is the crystal structure directly. But here, another thing may be that you are taking a powder sample here. And if you place it like that, one crystallite will be placed at Bragg angle, randomly I will say. If you rotate it and another portion, it will be satisfying Bragg law, so different cones will be produced. Now, if you put a film around this, what will happen? This diffracted rays will cut the film like this. And you can measure the distance between two identical these lines and find out about this 4 theta. And from that you can calculate that what is this crystal structure. There are, but now what has happened, instead of film, we are rotating this detector, and sample is also rotated to give you get a pattern like this. So this pattern, this position of the lines, so that various planes, and intensity shows that orientation of that plane. So by processing this spectra, you can find out what is the structure of the material. Now, as I told that here, you will have to rotate the detector one by one. So it takes a long time. But now, suppose a material is there, it is changing its structure very fast. So as soon as you reach at the end of your XRD pattern, its structure will change. So now this ED-XRD technique has come, where a polychromatic beam is made to fall on the sample, and it is measured with a detector with the time, and those different energy X-rays which are diffracted, they give information about the crystal structure, and you can measure for 4 seconds, 5 seconds, several spectra you can record. Now, as I told, synchrotron radiation XRD, It is also very advantageous technique, but it can be done in synchrotron radiation facilities only. Its advantage is that sometimes you get overlapped reflections which you cannot differentiate in lab sources. Here you can differentiate. You can find out very small amount of the sample. So there are various advantages of synchrotron radiation XRD. Coming to the application, you can identify the substance, what is the substance, you can find out formation of solid solution, you can monitor progress of the reaction, structural analysis can do, but main advantage for analytical chemistry is phase analysis. For example, iron, suppose Fe3O4 and Fe2O3 are present in your sample. Other techniques will give iron amount only. But in XRD pattern is characteristic of a particular phase. Fe3O proportional is related to atomic number. And this modular law changed the periodic table concept. Earlier it was atomic weight, but later it came to atomic number. You can see that K alpha and K beta, L alpha, L beta X-ray energies, as you move from atomic number lower to higher, they are increasing and they are linear. So if you find out the energy of a particular X-ray, characteristic X-ray, you can find out what elements it belongs. Now, what is the theory of X-ray? What happens that one X-ray, I told production of X-ray, electrons are used. But here X-rays are used. X-ray when they are coming, they are knocking, or if they are of high energy, they will knock out one inner orbital electron, and this vacancy will be filled by another electron. You see one vacancy created and then another electron came and this is emitted. So this is characteristic of that atom, and its intensity will be proportional to number of atoms in the sample, that is the concentration of the element in that sample. So nomenclature already I told you, so I will not discuss this. And then how you do this? You have some standard, make a calibration plot, measure the sunlight light intensity in various standards, and then make a calibration plot which will be linear. And when you have to measure your unknown sample, you measure, find out the intensity of the particular atom in that sample and correspond with this calibration what is the concentration. Now there are different types of X-ray fluorescence. In wavelength dispersive X-ray fluorescence, what happens? That X-rays come and fall on the sample. Then they go through a collimator and then they go on a crystal. Because here what is happening, that if you are having 10 elements, all the 10 elements will be excited and all the energies will be coming. Now you will separate using a diffraction technique. As I told, lambda equal to 2d sin theta, in same way will diffract. Here then you will get a plot of intensity versus 2 theta. And this difference 2 theta will be denoting the particular energy of a particular atom. For example, uranium L alpha, uranium L beta, plutonium like palladium, like that it is there. Then there is energy dispersive X-ray fluorescence. Problem in wavelength dispersive is that it is what happens, that resolution of the detector, here detector is also resolving the X-rays and crystal is also dispersing. So here resolution is very, very good. But time, it is a sequential technique, one by one it will analyze. But here what will happen, that what X-rays come from the sample, they go straightway in a detector, and there are multi-channel analyzer, different channels are there. Each channels are set to receive particular energy. So you will get a plot of energy versus this intensity. So this is the spectra you can see, and you can record for 10 seconds, you can record for 100 seconds, depending on the time. That if you are having very good intensity, you can record for less time, you are having less time, you can record for. So these spectra can be used for the analyzing various samples. So earlier days, WDXRF was being preferred, but now with the advancement of technology, with good detectors having good resolution, this EDXRF is being preferred. The advantage and limitations of both these techniques are that they are simple, they are fast, safe for sample preparation, they are non-destructive, low cost analysis is possible, no need for daily recalibration. But limitation is that one greatest limitation is matrix effect. What happens when X-rays penetrate deep inside the sample, and when the sample comes, the sample X-rays come out, they get interacted with various atoms and they themselves absorb, or sometimes they enhance the intensity also if they are of high energy. So energy measured is not the actual energy what you are getting exciting with the X-ray tube. It is some other thing also. So because of this, penetration background is also more. So you get detection, poor detection limit, low atomic number elements, it is difficult to measure. Radiation exposure problem is there. So because of these problems, X-ray fluorescence could never compete with well-established techniques like ICP-OES, ICP-MS, etc. But a new development in EDXRF, that is total reflection X-ray fluorescence, brought these advantages, a solution for these disadvantages. What happens in EDXRF, for example, X-ray fall at an angle 45 degree and they are detected also 45 degree. Now, if you go on reducing this angle, what will happen at one stage, no X-ray will penetrate inside the sample. They will just touch the surface and go in this situation. And if they do not penetrate inside, then what will happen? That there will not be any more scattering. And here the refracted beam also will just touch the surface and go. If you reduce the angle further, it will just pass over same medium. This condition is not the condition of total reflection. Now, if you put a very thin sample here, this sample will be excited by incoming X-ray and outgoing sample. And if sample is so thin that with nanometer thickness, then matrix effect will also not be there. So it will be free from matrix effect, background will be low, and then detector you can place very near to this because it is almost 0 degree. That is, this critical angle is 0.1, 0.2 degree like this. So now all these three conditions favor the lowering of detection limit. You get detection limit in PPB level. So TXRF technique has become competitive technique with other trace elemental analysis technique, and in fact in some cases it is better than those techniques because here you can analyze almost all elements of the periodic table from carbon to plutonium using different X-ray excitation sources and vacuum substrates. Just I have tried to show the spectra. You can see from oxygen to this is a chromium tube used for the excitation. So we can come as low as oxygen, even carbon we could measure. So now, what is the sample preparation in XRF? What you do, you take few milliliter of the sample, you have to dissolve the sample and then put internal standard, shake it, and take a few microliter of the sample, deposit on a flat polished quad sample support. Just put it, heat it, it will form a very thin film, and then this you can put for measurement here, just I told here. And then you get a spectra like this. You can hit the spectra with a computer program, find out the intensity of various elements, and make a sensitivity correction. Why I am telling sensitivity correction? Each element is having different sensitivity. For example, if you have 10 ppm of calcium and if you have 10 ppm of silicon, excite in same condition, calcium will give more count compared to silicon because fluorescence yield of silicon is less than that of calcium K alpha. So this sensitivity factor correction you have to apply. This is theoretically you can apply, or you can measure a standard sample and make a calculation of the sensitivity factor. So what are the TXRF advantages? As I told, carbon to plutonium you can analyze, variety of samples in different matrices, low detection limit, multi-element analysis. You can measure non-metals, metals all together, simple quantification. You don't have to calibrate, you just find out the sensitivity and you can analyze the sample. Matrix and memory effect absence, trace microanalysis you can do, depth profiling also you can do. Just as I told here, if you reduce this angle, then penetration reduces. So if you increase the angle, penetration will increase and you will get picture of lower and lower region. So then this is known as GIXRF, Grazing Incident X-ray Fluorescence. There are some limitations also of TXRF. It is destructive analysis. In XRF, you can take sample in form of pellet or you can use as such also. But here you have to dissolve the sample. Limitations. Limitations for volatile sample. When you are heating for making a thin film, if chlorine is there, it will get lost. Low atomic number elements are having fluorescence, but now this with the improved instrumentation, low atomic number elements are also we are also able to analyze. Matrix separation is required for better because we have to make a thin film of the sample. We have to separate the matrix. Restriction to flat or polished surfaces. This sample support should be flat polished. Some examples I have tried to show. What we thought that if it is having so good detection limit, some uranium thorium oxide pellets we just on the sample support and measure its TXRF spectrum and we could analyze those solid solutions. Sintered pellets, just as sintered pellets are very hard, very difficult to grind also. Just don't think about dissolution is itself very difficult. But here we could analyze, just we touched on the surface and we put for measurement, we got a very good spectra. You can see here 4% uranium thorium oxide pellet. And we analyzed so many samples. What we could see that expected uranium percent and PXRF detected uranium percent are in same that in linear combination, and this we could publish in analytical chemistry. Another example I will show, coconut water if we are using, we say that it is very much good for health, and just it is work of our collaborator, one of our collaborator, Dr. M.K. Tiwari from RR-CAT Indore. He analyzed coconut water and groundwater and just tried to see what is the difference. And the main difference, what he took, that just coconut water mixed with internal standard, put on the sample support, measured TXRF spectra, and just I tried to show what are the differences. Potassium you see, compared to groundwater, coconut water having lot of potassium. Similarly, calcium, rubidium also, manganese, and chlorine. These are the differences, which chlorine here it is less, in groundwater it is more. Now, this is the COVID period and everybody is under fear of COVID. So recently one paper I have seen that it is published in this what I saw, nutrients, the journal nutrients is there, in that the journal it is published, that they have tried to show that those patients of COVID which are having less selenium in their blood plasma, most of the patients died. But who were having more selenium, they recovered and they got discharged from the hospital. So here also TXRF has played a role in COVID situation. Now coming to the micro XRF, what happens that when there is non-uniformity in the sample, for example, one painting, as I told that if painting is there, you would like to know how the elemental concentration in changing various regions so that you can reconstruct it. Similarly, if you are making some material and you want to show it is uniform, you can make. It is very difficult to focus X-rays. Why it is difficult? As I told that, Roentgen told that they do not get reflected, they do not get refracted, because they behave in reverse way as the light. For them, every medium is rarer than air. So here, using total reflection, microcapillary tubes are made, they can focus the X-rays. And once the X-rays are focused, they can fall at a sample size of around 20 to 30 micron. And if you move this sample, you can find out a 2D image or even 3D imaging is possible. Here just you see a Buddha image is there. You can see how the mercury is on the rectangular. This gold is changing like this, copper is changing like this, whereas lead is changing like this. So if you want to reconstruct this by using some paint, so you can make such a paint that which is having lead in these regions, copper in this region, you can be reconstructed. Similarly for diamond also, that diamond industry micro X-ray is being used to see the distribution of different elements. In nuclear industry, we studied PMC root pellet and this CAP root pellet. There is two, coated amelioration pelletization and powder metallurgical compaction. Powder metallurgical compaction is conventional route of preparing uranium oxide, thorium oxide pellet. But in order to avoid the radiation dose, this new technique was proposed. But when we studied the uniformity, PMC root pellet, just you see this color code is showing the amount of thorium in different regions. So you can see it is quite uniform. What we did that we took this sample directly and we just moved in steps of few micron and scanned this area. What we found that is very, very uniform. Similarly, uranium is also uniform only. But here you can see that non-uniformity is slightly more because it is amount is low. But when cap root pellet, you can see both are very non-uniform, and we quantified it and found out that in cap non-uniformity is up to 50%. Now coming to absorption technique like shafts and Janes. So we should know the concept of this absorption edges. When X-ray fall on a sample, what happens that when you go on increasing, the absorption will increase. But at that energy, which is having just in more energy more than the binding energy of a particular electron in that atom, absorption will increase tremendously, and then again it will decrease. Now, if it is a single atom, it will come suddenly down. But if it is there are so many atoms, as the case in metals or compounds, then what will happen? Just I tried to show here. X-ray is falling. Then you can see that it is emitting the electron. And then if this electron, what is happening? This is going, and then it is coming back after hitting some other atom. And then outgoing and incoming electron wave, they are interfering, and they can interfere in constructive manner, they can interfere in destructive manner. So now what we get, just I will go to the previous slide. The post edge, this is the energy at which absorption is maximum is known as absorption edge, which is corresponds to binding energy actually. Then post edge, this absorption changes like this, and this is because of that interference. And this absorption is element specific. It gives information about the local environment of that atom, that what atoms are present, at what distance they are present. And this pre-edge, just you see, pre-edge also you get this one. So this gets that what type of molecule is there. It is tetragonal, octahedral. And then this edge position, if you process this spectra after subtracting the background, this position of the edge gives the valency of that atom. And post edge, it gives the, as I told, that bond length, local environment, etc. Same principle, this one thing I forgot to tell, that this is known as pre-edge, this region. This 50 eV range is known as above and below the edge is known as Jane's region, and up to 1 kV region is known as X-ops region. So this Jane's, for finding out the valency of that particular atom, can be used in XRF or TXRF also. In TXRF, if you change the energy and measure the intensity of a particular atom, then you get a structure plot like X-ops only. So here its benefit is that you require very small amount of sample and you can do thousands of measurements very fast. So just you see arsenic, it is showing, just if it finishes I will show. You see this arsenic region is being measured. You can see that now this intensity is less when energy is less than the absorption edge. As it is increasing with the absorption edge, intensity is increasing, then again it is decreasing. This TXRF Jane's has proved a very novel technique for finding out the oxidation state. Also, in addition to the elemental composition, and we did one experiment where we could find out, you see U3O8 and U3O7, these are mixed valent compound. In uranium or U3O8, it can be mixture of uranium 6 and uranium 5. It can be mixture of uranium 6 and uranium 4. Then we did this type of experiment, and you can see that for 4 seconds, this is a very good spectrum. Similar way, we just touch the sample support and measure, as I told earlier, and we could show that uranium oxide is a mixture of uranium, U3O8 is mixture of wants to know detail about various techniques, he is correct with my explanation. If he is correct, I will be happy to bear with
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you very much. Very nice.
So there is one question in the chat box.
Please tell me.
What about the development of X-ray equipment in India, and what are the limitations in their development?
Kindly repeat your question.
Yeah, so this is from Rajendra Nair, and he wishes
repeat
to
that.
ask, what about the development of X-ray equipments in India? What are the limitations in their development?
Unfortunately, X-ray equipments developments are not in India. That I will say that no X-ray development has taken place because everybody wants to purchase instruments from foreign country. So development has not taken place, but in fact, people have developed a CSRF spectrometer and they have set up a very good beamline facility. So they can develop, they can do it, but problem is that when initiative is not there for taking the instruments or actually private companies can make, but most of the private companies are having their agents in India, they sell from there.
Any more questions?
I just want to, first of all, congratulate Dr. Mishra for taking us through a complete gallery of analytical techniques by XRF. And just inquisitiveness, I just wanted to know, we were doing actually Coulombic template analysis. And in that, we always observe that whenever niobium content is more, titanium values are very high. Or otherwise also. If titanium values are very high, then niobium values were very less. If you could throw some light on this, sir.
Can you please repeat the question? I did not hear properly.
Yeah. The question actually, when we are doing Coulombic and template analysis, in that, whenever titanium content was more,
Okay.
niobium values, we were getting low values.
Okay.
So, whether you could throw some light on this. And similarly, whenever niobium values were low, then titanium values were, of course, high.
No, I don't have any answer for this.
Okay. Just inquisitiveness, that's all. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. I'm Rupa from Bangalore. I just wanted to, because I'm not very well versed with your all the techniques, but in the when you talked about that edge genes or something like that, no, with edge and after edge and before edge, which gives the
Yes.
this thing of oxidation state and the environment. So how is it different from XPS? Like XPS is also giving the same light, right? If they are
Yes, very good question. Actually, I will say that in XPS, you see this when you are analyzing this high Z element, for example, uranium, if you analyze, this energy gaps of the various electronic transitions are so less that it can be interpreted in any way. But in GENS and XOPS, this resolution is very less. 1 EV resolution you can get. The XPS you cannot get that resolution. So they give more correct picture. Here what happens that this low energy X-rays are used in XPS and then outer cell transitions that you study.
Yeah, binding energy.
But for high Z elements, they create some problem. For low Z, XPS and GENS both will give similar picture. For high atomic number elements, GENS is always better.
Okay, thank you so much.
So at the same time, I would like to add in this answer. At the same time, in XPS, it requires high vacuum for the analysis. As far as GENS and XOPS are concerned, you can fairly in an local environment.
Yeah, and another thing that both are means there are advantages, there are limitations.
Yeah, exactly.
Lab, for GENS, you have to go to a synchrotron light.
Yeah, exactly. But on lab source also GENS can be done, but longer time.
No, sir. This data is not being accepted now. Lab sources.
Okay, exactly that.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir,
Good
it's
evening.
an excellent talk. Just I wanted to ask that portable XRFs are nowadays there in the market.
Yeah, yeah.
So whether it gives the qualitative data on the site or the quantitative, please enlighten me on this topic, sir.
It gives the quantitative data also. Qualitative, it gives. There is no problem. But their accuracy is around
Yeah,
20%.
yeah.
So
Means the
because
precise data is not possible by
precise data is not
portable.
possible, because here what happens, one thing is that X-ray tube what they are using, they are not of very high power tube, that
Yeah,
intensity is low.
yeah.
And moreover, then what they do, they are based on fundamental parameter method, because they generate one spectra and then they fit with various theoretical permutation and combination. So analysis results are not that accurate and precise as in lab-based or synchrotron-based sources.
Acha.
But
But how far it is advantageous to in geological manner, sir?
yeah, geological it is
Any quantitative
advantageous.
values you are taking.
Where you are interested in plus minus 20%,
Yeah.
it is advantageous.
Uh-huh.
Because best thing is that you can take it to any place and measure. They are battery operated.
That is the only advantage.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Nice
thank
talk.
Vijayalakshmi madam, just ask question.
I want to ask about which are the elements, non-metals you could determine at what level? Non-metals. Non-metals, which were the elements you could determine by TX.
All non-metals you can determine. There is no restriction. XRF doesn't differentiate between metal and non-metal.
And one more
Only thing, pardon, you told something.
No, you continue, please.
Only thing is that, for example, chlorine, in TXRF, we tried to analyze chlorine. When we deposited on the sample support and we reheated, then in acidic medium, chlorine lost from the sample as HCl.
Yeah.
So then we took care, we made the sample in sodium hydroxide and then we could analyze. But if you can make your sample stable on your sample support, you can measure with TXRF or XRF. Just I have not given, I did some measurement in non-destructive measurement also. So in that case, chlorine measurement is also feasible because you are not dissolving it.
And one more question that this solid materials when you are taking for analysis, say by TXRF, I know that sample size is too small. Then how you ensure that it is a representative sample?
That is the problem with TXRF, because this sample, it gives the picture of that place only. But if you take so many samples, so many places, and then you can make an average, then you will get the picture of
quantification point of view. Qualitative one can understand, but quantification.
Quantification only I am telling you.
Oh, you want to take more samples?
No, same sample. You
Several number of
several spots.
Yeah,
several spots. You make the beam form at several spots
and
then measure.
Yeah.
And take average.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, thanks a lot, sir. Now I would request Dr. Saran sir to cite the certificate of excellence to be presented to Dr. Mishra for his excellent talk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mishra, for such an excellent and lucid talk and in a simple way. And we, ISAS, ISAS, we actually want to, just as a token of our deep appreciation, we want to offer you an certificate of excellence. I'll just read the citation. So, Indian Society of Analytical Scientists, Nagpur, chapter and ISAS headquarters confer the certificate of excellence upon Dr. N.L. Mishra in appreciation of the professional expertise and practical experience for the immense insight into the subject, unparalleled professional contribution, enriched professional acumen, and readiness for knowledge sharing as an invited guest speaker on X-ray in analytical chemistry. During the webinar held on November 26, 2020, the talk synergized immensely with the objectives of the Indian Society of Analytical Scientists, ISAS, in promoting excellence and relevance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now I would request Dr. Chandrachudan sir to award the certificate virtually to Dr. Mishra.
Unmute. 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 Unmute.
Sir, Chandrachudan sir, unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Sir, you are not audible. Chandrachudan sir.
Okay. Yeah, it
Yes.
is a great pleasure for me today evening. Thank you, Professor Mishra ji. It was only due to your outstanding theoretical and practical knowledge that you could explain from first principles to touching upon almost all the normal range of applications in a very commendable manner. ISAS feels really honored to present you the ISAS Certificate of Excellence in this evening, greatly impressed by your expertise. So kindly accept this certificate. Because of the webinar mode, we are online presentation we are doing. So a copy of this will come to you. Kindly accept it. I am very happy to hand over this certificate to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I accept it happily.
Thanks a lot.
Now I would request Dr. Kanu
Thanks,
Nero, Vice President Nagpur Chapter, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Madam. So I, on behalf of ISAS Nagpur Chapter and on behalf of myself, I convey my profound gratitude to Dr. Nandalal Mishra, Head Scientific Officer, H and Head X-ray Spectroscopy Section, who has delivered an excellent talk. And really, we are honored, sir, and we feel proud to have amongst us today and sparing your valuable time, enlightening all scientists, analytical scientists, and students, professionals who have joined this this evening to listen your talk. So you have covered almost all the aspects, starting from what is X-ray, how it is generated, type of X-ray, their applications. So there are some new things, as Chandrachudan Sahab has already explained, total X-ray. So it is really, sir, happening for us. You possess a vast knowledge, and it is really exemplary to see your commendable job you have done in the field of X-ray spectroscopy. So also you have added some photoelectron, auger electron, some new aspects. So also you have explained amorphous material are also can be analyzed with help of X-ray. So really these are some new things, and also an interesting analysis you have shown on coconut and in comparison to the standard samples. So really, sir, we are greatly honored and feel very much proud. Our profound gratitude once again to you for sparing your valuable time and delivering such an excellent lecture, sir. So I am very much grateful, indebted to Dr. P.P. Chandrachudan sir, who is the president of the webinar and national president ISAS. So who has mentored the webinar series throughout, and really his dynamic leadership are also enlightened. So all the ISAS members and professionals. So thanks are due to Dr. B.R. Nair sir, Chairman National Webinar Committee, who actually was navigated all the national webinar series, and his untiring efforts are really praiseworthy. We are very much grateful to you, sir. Our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Raghav Saran sir, who is the Vice President of Webinar and National Vice President ISAS. His tremendous efforts is really noteworthy, and he has revived the Nagpur chapter and organizing the series of webinars and making this chapter more vibrant. So I am very much thankful to Dr. Raghav Saran sir. Thanks are due to Dr. A.B. Bharati, Chairman ISS Nagpur chapter. So who was given a nice introduction, welcome address, and making Nagpur chapter a very lively and very informative coordination among Nagpur chapter and headquarter ISS. So thanks are due to Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Adya, Madam, former scientist VRC, so who has introduced our today's speaker and narrating the key achievements and expertise about Dr. Nandalal Mishra sir. Thanks are due to Preeti Mangrukar Madam, so who was throughout I am observing all the seminar series. She's putting a lot of efforts, and we are very much thankful to her. So for her perseverance and nicely conducting the webinar. Thanks to all the esteemed members and participants without whose support and participation. So this webinar would not have been a successful one. Thank you once again. Thank you all.
Thanks a lot, sir. The feedback link for the webinar is shared in the chat box. I thank you all for participating in today's webinar. We hope to see you again next time. From all of us here at ISS, thank you and have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Saran.
Mr. Dar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Bharati.
Thank you.
So, okay, Dr. Nair, good night.
Okay, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Good night to all of us.
Okay, good night,
Good night, all.
Dr. Nair.
Good night, Chandrasudan sir. Nice,
Good night,
sir.
good night, Dr. Bharati.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night, Dr.
Rashid sir, good night.
Good night.
Good night, good night. Good night, Dr.
Good night, Saran sir. Vijayalakshmi madam.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, madam.
Good night.
Good night all, and thanks again all participants. Joseph sir, good night.